I'm the Unabridged Gamer, and this is The First Hour, a new series I'm starting today that's going to focus on various titles that I'm considering for review. To start things off, today we've got Shock Tactics, which is a turn-based strategy game very much inspired by the recent XCOM reboot, XCOM Enemy Unknown and XCOM 2, but in a very sort of different direction, and it's a PC title. It just recently released on Steam, and so far it's been interesting. I have encountered some issues. There's a few glitches of note that are happening for a few people. I had a little bit of progress lost. They're actually currently working on that one right now, but overall it's actually been a very nice experience. Other than, like I said, other than like with the one progress glitch, it's actually been a fairly good experience. And that's the thing that I want to get out of the way, is that just, I want to get the few negatives out of the way right off the start, because I actually rather like Shock Tactics. It feels more in line with what I wish the XCOM reboot played like. It's essentially got this very Aliens-inspired universe, very much James Cameron's Aliens. And on top of that, there's a little bit of Starship Troopers in terms of the framing. I mean, you're basically mercenaries working for a corporation trying to figure out what's, most valuable on this planet while dealing with aliens and rival factions. Which is where the more roguelike aspect comes in, because with this sort of game, just once again like with XCOM, it functions like a grand strategy roguelike. And yeah, it's been interesting thus far. The base building wasn't mind-blowing that I've seen thus far. It was pretty standard, but the combat is where it gets very clever, because, you see, and I'm going to be drawing a lot of comparisons to XCOM, and I bet you the developers knew that was going to happen with this title. They actually do something that I'm very happy to see. Yet your hit chance isn't defined by one roll the die. If you have an assault rifle, every bullet has a chance to hit. Now, one bullet of an assault rifle isn't going to kill someone, but it will actually do some damage. And that's a lot fairer than saying, okay, we rolled the dice, you miss your entire shot. It just nothing hits them. Now that means that there's a lot more intensity in a scenario where you're trying to, say, get a sniper to hit a rare shot, but it's a nice play on the probability that they had to do for this sort of game, and it's really nice. It gives a bit more fairness, in my opinion, to it. It makes it feel a little bit less gamey, and the same goes for the game's movement system. You see, with a traditional turn-based strategy game, not even just XCOM, most of them, you choose your move, that's it. If you're lucky, maybe they'll let you rewind, but usually you don't even get a chance to rewind. You don't get to rewind here, but they found a better alternative that makes you stick with your choices, but also doesn't beat you over the head if you accidentally click your mouse at the wrong point. You see, every single movement gets you into a certain sphere. The action points that you have are let's just say they're more like a pool of actions rather than just solid 1, 2, 3. They can function like that. But you can also choose to move up to a place, and if you still have enough action points, you can still move around a little bit after that. And we're not talking like the usual dashing thing. Even if you dash over to an area, you still have a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit to get around certain things. And that can save a character. You can move them right out of line of sight so that the enemies can't shoot them. And you wouldn't be able to do that in the Firaxis XCOM stuff. And I like that. It feels more genuine, because realistically, if you get to a position but you realize you need to move a little bit, it's kind of nice to be able to actually do that. It's very nice. Also, I have to praise the controls. At the time of playing it, my keyboard was bugging out for some reason. I still don't know why. And it wasn't the game. It was happening in all sorts of programs. So I was limited to trying to play mostly with my mouse, and it worked. This game is actually very accessible. If you're the sort of person who can only play with one hand, or who's limited to just using the mouse for whatever reason, this game works. It does that. It's very elegant. You can even rotate the map by holding down the middle mouse button and just, dragging from side to side. That's very nice. And they also figured out a few things other than that actually are a bit of a nice improvement in terms of the user interface and character controls over that of Firaxis stuff. For instance, when you're trying to line up, say, a shot for a special ability, say you're going to have your minigun guy fire off a whole Hail Mary of bullets, instead of picking the end point, you just basically control a cone, which seems a lot more reasonable in my opinion. It works a lot better. It's a lot nicer than when you had to try to, say, aim a rocket in the XCOM thing, and here it works pretty smoothly. I do have an issue with how some of the heavy special abilities, they don't seem to work on different height levels, because I had my minigun guy at one point on a higher vantage point, and for some reason he couldn't fire his gun downward. I don't know if that was just because there were no targets within what the game considered line of sight or what, but that was a little disappointing. I do like that they still use multiple heights though, and I like that the environments themselves strongly encourage flanking and tactical maneuvers. What I got to play during the tutorial section and all that was well done. It really made me feel like I needed to be aggressive in order to get an advantage on my enemies, but I also had to be careful because I couldn't let anyone die at that point. That's not to say that the rest of the game is like that. It's just that when you're just getting started, it's like, yeah, try not to get these guys killed. And that's the other wonderful thing, is that the missions don't feel like they're taking an eternity. There's a lot of tactical decisions and there's a lot of turns, but it feels faster. And part of that is because a lot of the stuff that would slow things down, like, you know how when in XCOM you spot an alien and there's a whole animation and then they have to move into cover. Yeah, that doesn't happen here. They completely toss that aside, which you'd think, but that makes XCOM look shinier. Yes, it does. It also adds nothing if it actually means it takes longer to get through the mission and you've seen the animation 50 times. Here, if you sight an enemy, the game actually pauses. It stops your character mid-motion. They're still in their action point pool, so they can keep moving if you want them to keep moving. But if you want them to take an opportunity shot, they can. And it's not done through any sort of weird system, it's just, it will stop the character and let you choose. It's a choice of gameplay over polish, and that's really seems to be what the game is going for. I mean, the actual levels and stuff like that, they aren't going to look realistic. They look very much like a game board, but I honestly kind of like that. It aesthetically is a very pleasing thing. It's like you're playing with miniatures. It's like someone brought their bag of War Machine figures and they're just like, okay, let's go hog wild. And that's really good. I like that. I like that a lot. It's a really great design decision. It makes the world feel kind of tangible, like you could literally reach out and touch it. Even if it doesn't sell the fiction, but that's not a big problem because the fiction's not that strong. It's pretty generic, and aside from the main character of Ignatius, there's not that much delivery that is worth noting. Ignatius himself, I'm actually okay with his voiceover. It's not great, but it's also not terrible. But you're really here for the gameplay, and the gameplay's good. Like I said, with the way they handle the hit chance and stuff like that, that's way fairer than just having a 1 in however many percentage chance of hitting. Instead, it's much fairer for most of your units, and it makes it actually a lot harder to abuse a sniper, which was another problem in the XCOM reboot. It was never really feeling balanced. Here, yeah, snipers are handy, but you gotta make sure you have them in the right place, and you gotta make sure you're ready to make that shot count. And I like that you can also choose to just target an enemy by right-clicking them. That's another nice thing, is that they remove how many times you have to click on the bloody screen just to accomplish something. You can do the whole tabbing through enemies by choosing an attack, but you only have to do that if, like, you're choosing a specific sort of special attack, or if you want to. Otherwise, you can just click on the thing that's right there in front of you. That's good! I like that. That's a really nice thing. So, yeah, I'm curious to see more of Shock Tactics. It's not perfect, but it's an indie production. They're gonna have to cut some corners some places, and what's here is promising. I want to see more of this game. I want to experience more of it. So yeah, this one's definitely going to be getting some sort of review. Given that it's a bit more roguelike in nature, it might be an abridged review, but still, I really want to dive more into this one. It's an interesting game. I recommend keeping an eye on it, and you can add it to your Steam wishlist to keep an eye out for it, because I'm sure this is going to be one of the more interesting ones that you'll be able to pick up whenever the next Steam sale kicks in. So yeah, and it's something to check out as a curiosity. It's not going to please, people who were into the XCOM reboot, because this feels almost like an action game. Yeah, this isn't going to do that for you. It's not. This is meant for people who like turn-based strategy in a squad sort of setting. But if you like that, then you're golden. It's a really interesting experience. I'll have my final thoughts as soon as I get to dig fully through this one. Star Wars Month's going on right now, so it's going to be a little bit, but I look forward to seeing more of this one. That's all for Shock Tactics, which is developed by Point Blank Games. And it's currently on Steam right now for $20. Like I said, keep an eye out for the Steam sale, because then it'll be a very nice impulse buy for the strategy fans out there. It'll be something that you'll want to just, like, okay, let's see what this has got. And then you might find a new favorite little strategy game. That's all. See you next time.